everybody, I'm Beebs Kelley. Welcome back to another video. Great news! Catherine, the Princess of Wales, attended Wimbledon finals to present the men's trophies. She looked absolutely wonderful. It was so great to see her and see her looking so well. Her outfit, as per usual, was so on point. It was spectacular. We're going to look at it in greater detail in an upcoming fashion edition, so be sure to click that subscribe button so you do not miss it. But it was such a treat to see her there, and I'm sure it was a treat for her as well to get to go out and about and do something she really enjoys. Tennis is something she actually does play in real life and enjoys, so she surely enjoys watching it. It's probably one of her favorite events in her calendar, getting to go to Wimbledon and participate in that event. So it was just wonderful to see her there, wonderful to see her looking happy, and we continue to wish her all the best. She is really doing the exact right thing by selecting events that are not too demanding and those that she really does enjoy, because she is still technically on medical leave, basically. So any critics saying that she should do more are plainly wrong. She has 3 young children at home who are on summer break. She is working every single day. Plus, she's working from home on some of her charity initiatives, so she deserves time away from in-person engagements as much as she wants, and choosing one that she actually enjoys is just the right thing to do when you're going through something like this. It's important to do things that you do actually like and have fun doing, so I think she made a great choice of an event to attend, and it's just a bonus that we get to see her. Anyway, today we are going to discuss the Sussexes' recent outing to the Espys, and there will be more on Catherine and the Wales family on the way soon. So old Harold went ahead and accepted the award, the Pat Tillman Award, himself, though he did make efforts to schmooze the optics. Early on in his acceptance speech, I'll spare you the actual clips, he did say that he's not accepting it as an individual, but rather as a voice for Invictus and the veterans. He did request that a few of those who announced his award did stay on stage while he gave his speech. This was a move that was surely decided on ahead of time to help shift the optics a little bit by having them with him up there, by having them nearby. But he stopped short of actually having the Espy given to Invictus as an organization, or having a group of people from Invictus, participants, etc., actually accept it and give a speech themselves. He stopped short of doing that. He stopped short of actually showcasing them. He still took the award himself. It's still his name on the award. So just by having them stand up there next to him is kind of an empty gesture, and honestly a selfish one, because it made it look better for him. It made the visuals, the actual optics of it, look better for him, but didn't actually change anything beyond that. To be fair, once there was backlash, he really was in a tight spot. There wasn't a whole lot he could do to shift the optics, unless he just said, I don't want to receive this award. Instead, please consider giving it to Invictus directly as an organization. I'm sure they would have been open to doing that. That was really the only solution he could have done, the only angle he could have taken that would have truly spared him negative publicity altogether. Stopping short of that means he was going to get negative publicity no matter what. It was going to look bad to accept it. It was going to look bad to do what he did, which was give a speech that many are viewing as manipulative and have the people stand with him. That's still, people are viewing that as him using those people to soften the image. He really didn't have many options, and he chose to just go forth despite the negative publicity and took the approach of, well, we're used to controversy, poor us. It does really bring to light the fact that he didn't have the character or foresight to simply ask the Espys immediately as soon as he got word that he had been selected to receive the Pat Tillman Award, that he didn't immediately request that it be to Invictus. Like, I'll come and accept it alongside an Invictus team or a group of people from Invictus, but please make this award out to Invictus itself, because I would like for the organization to receive this award instead of me myself. He didn't have the character and foresight to do that in the first place, so he was already in a tight spot no matter what. Even if he had done the right thing ultimately, he didn't think of it himself in the first place. So that's why I say he was in a tight spot. He missed the mark in the first place. But it would have been the right path for so many reasons, but also it would have been more team-like, you know, sporty to have it be a team of people receiving it. But anyway, moving on. He didn't do that, and you could tell through his vibe that evening that he did feel a bit put out by all of this. Although his speech had some positives to it, he did not mention any of the help that he has had in setting up and running Invictus. No mention of the people who dedicate their time to make it happen, or the royal family who donated all the money and time and staff to get it up and going, the team effort that it was in founding Invictus Games. No mention of any of that. And this was an opportunity for him to be gracious and point out what a big team effort it has been over the 10 years. He could have even framed it as like, from where we started with the Royal Foundation, alongside the Prince and Princess of Wales and my father setting up Invictus as this initiative inspired by the Warrior Games. You know, he could have started out and discussed how now it's something that he is so glad to see continuing to grow or something like that, even though it's not doing that great right now. But, you know, he could have framed it like that and mentioned all of that. He would have come across so good had he done that. It would have seemed so gracious, so self-aware, so inspiring to see somebody who's accepting an award and literally explaining how it was not just him. Like, it would have been so good if he had done that, but he didn't. Not at all. There were some reports leading up to the night that this was a backroom deal involving Disney CEO Bob Iger, and I do not believe that for 1 second. The Meg was an absolute disaster on the Elephant documentary. They did not ask her back for the sequel, opting for Natalie Portman instead. And so, quite frankly, the Sussexes have been a failure for Disney and quite embarrassing to them. Harry asking Bob Iger to give the Meg a voiceover job at the Lion King premiere is so incredibly cringe, and they have not been able to escape it since it happened. The embarrassment of it is big. So no, I don't think that Disney or Bob care one hoot about who's getting the Pat Tillman Award or the Sussexes' endeavors whatsoever. They don't need negative publicity. They don't need any publicity. Some rumors said that this is getting much needed eyeballs on the Pat Tillman Award and the Espys in general. No, they're not desperate enough for publicity to use negative stuff like Harry and Meghan being selfish, undeserving recipients of an award. That sort of controversy and divisiveness is not something they need. They're one of the biggest organizations in the world, Disney is. They're not some B-team sort of small organization that are like, any publicity is good publicity. They're not the Meg. Disney wants positive publicity. ESPN has the Pat Tillman Award as part of the Espys, and it's literally decided upon by the Pat Tillman Foundation separately. It has nothing to do with Bob Iger or Disney or ESPN, ultimately, who gets that award. So I really don't believe those articles or claims at all. But that evening that he took Meg to tell them to give her voiceover work was an evening that Harry was actually scheduled to attend an event with veterans. If I'm not mistaken, it was honoring those who had been lost in service. So that's not a good look to have that coming up right about now. Kind of ironic. But back to his acceptance speech. Controversially, he called out Mary Tillman, Pat Tillman's mother, who had spoke out against Harry receiving the award. He said that he respects her advocacy and the bond between mother and son. And this was a move that, unfortunately, under the circumstances, has been interpreted as manipulative. By including her in this speech at all and alluding to his own loss of his mother, he was creating a narrative that he didn't deserve the backlash, despite the criticism of him receiving the award being very, very warranted. Admiral Lord Alan West put it very, very well. He said that Harry receiving this award and others like the Legends of Aviation Award doesn't travel well with people in the military. He said that I really think Harry should be well advised to sit back and not accept awards like this. When the mother of the man who died doesn't want him to get this award, he should think about that. My advice to him is to sit back and not accept any awards at the moment. They are going his way because he has such a high profile and people want to take advantage of that. He ought to think very long and hard about accepting awards for things like being an exceptional pilot and being exceptionally brave. Some of the blame must lie with ESPN. They like picking him because it gives them immense publicity, but this is rather bad publicity for Harry. That's exactly how people feel about this. Because Pat Tillman gave up a very lucrative career as a professional football player to go and serve his country, people cannot help but think Harry has done the exact opposite of what Pat Tillman did. Harry gave up a life of service in favor of making money in dishonorable ways. Tom Bauer believes that the backlash for this award will make it much more difficult for Harry to be nominated for or receive awards in the future, and this will bleed over to Archewell and Meghan Markle. So in terms of long-term thinking here, it's very short-sighted that Harry did not do things differently. It might have worked a little bit in the short term in that the optics shift that he did by using those people, having them stay on stage with him, and mentioning his mother and Mary Tillman in his speech. And the speech that he gave is saying that this is something that I do accept on behalf of Invictus. Not giving it to Invictus, but as the voice of Invictus. By doing those things to soften the optics, he did achieve a slight softening in the narratives because the headlines ran with those few select quotes, making it seem like he did a better job, which meant a lot of the press was slightly less critical of him after the awards speech occurred. However, in the long run, this is not going to help anything. It's not going away, this particular problem. Because in the future, people will always, if they're thinking of giving an award to Harry or Meghan or Archewell or anything like that tied to the Sussexes, people will pause now and think, well, hold on. We don't want all this controversy and backlash. Because of this, something that has now come to light that will have a slower consequence coming is that now people have discovered the Pat Tillman Foundation spends 75% of its income on their salaries and on overhead, and less than 25% goes out in charitable efforts. Very, very small percentages. In fact, by some accounts, only like 10% has actually been donated and used for charitable reasons. The rest is going to the people in charge of the charity, which is Pat Tillman's widow, who is now remarried. So the Pat Tillman Foundation itself has now been exposed as a rather shady organization that is not worth your donations because they do not actually push it out into charitable efforts at a reasonable pace. They keep the majority of the money for themselves. So now the Pat Tillman organization is going to have longer term consequences of people not wanting to support them. So other organizations are not going to want to follow suit. People are not going to want to stir up controversy, get extra eyes on them, and then ultimately have a tarnished view in the public eye. Apparently, Harry found the discourse revolving around his military service particularly upsetting, but many are asking, what did he expect? Those who take serving their country seriously do not try to damage their country's institutions, and military communities all around the world pride themselves on living honorably. They earn tremendous respect from the public for their respectful service and sacrifice. Harry has not behaved in a way that really anyone would associate with military service or culture or sacrifice. He has been incredibly disrespectful, dishonest, and unethical. So of course people are critical of this. The Legends of Aviation, at least, doesn't pretend to represent anything military related. So there's a completely different element to this situation. The dynamic here is that selflessness Harry lacks is ill-fitting to this particular award. Now, before we get to the Meg and what she wore for this event, leave it in the comments what you thought of his speech. Did he soften the optics of this mess, or was it too clearly manipulative? Regardless of his speech, it is clear that the public is tired of watching these people collecting empty, bought, or undeserved awards. It's quite true that those who are actually philanthropists, role models, and those focused on doing good, being patrons of charities, and championing causes are the people handing out the awards, not receiving them. It's a lost cause at this point. But he had so many points throughout this last few weeks to do something different. And once again, Harry took this more selfish path. The backlash and over 75,000 signatures will encourage him to make a different choice next time. not likely. They allegedly skipped the red carpet at the beginning of the event, which means that they either didn't want to get booed, that there were people there ready to do so, or made the decision that it would further muck up the optics of the event to do a red carpet, contributing to the sort of self-indulgent vibe of accepting the award in the first place by also walking the red carpet. It would look more self-indulgent. Or perhaps Meghan Markle is just traumatized from the time that she needed to be shoved off the red carpet because she was taking too long duck-facing into the cameras and somebody more important and actually famous and talented was waiting to get onto that red carpet, so she needed to move. So maybe she wanted to avoid that embarrassment again. Maybe it was really traumatizing for her. She was photographed what looks to be after the event here because Serena had changed into this event throughout the evening. So it was a different look than the one that she wore when she kicked off the event, which, side note, Serena Williams here in this outfit looks really, really nice. This was great for her. It was very complimentary to her figure. As you can see, she looks amazing in these clean, simple, sleek styles without fussy details or too much volume. They're really, really great for her. This streamlined look looks fabulous on Serena. But moving on to the Meg. For once, her gown is hemmed almost properly. It might be a touch too long, but it's pretty good. It is an acceptable length for a red carpet event or evening events like this because you want it to just skim the ground, not puddle up on the floor. Just skim it. The dress does have a little bit of pulling and puckering of the seams, as you can see along the hip and the waist a little bit here, so it might be just a tad too tight. Also, this type of fabric is a little bit more prone to puckering along the seams, but I mean, it shouldn't be. Overall, it is relatively clean. It does skim over her waist in a way that sort of blends her lack of a waist, so that's good. I would say that that is the best positive of this look, is that it doesn't draw the eye to the waistline. There's no waistbands, there's no belts, there's no, buttons or embellishments that are gonna rest the eye right here, so that is good. It benefits her silhouette, keeping things more streamlined. It's also an elongating trick if you're petite or you're particularly short or you want to slenderize a little bit. Something all one color that's relatively simple and doesn't have an interruption of a seam or a belt or things like that along the waistband area or the midsection. That does help to elongate your figure as well as slenderize it. And if it doesn't rein in super tight across the waist the way hers does here, it sort of just loosely skims over the waist, it can hide a lack of a well-defined waist. So those elements to this particular dress were upsides. It is quite shoulder dominant, this look overall. The gathered, draped sort of halter neck style right around here, it does draw the eye towards the center rather than just on the shoulders because this has a little bit more interest and fabric to it, which makes it slightly better than other halter styles that we've seen her in, or completely strapless or spaghetti strap styles. Her shoulders look far more dramatically wide in those than it does in this particular style of halter neck because of that draping and softness. The amount of fabric at the neckline, while on its own isn't problematic as it's actually offering a smidge of balance to the shoulders, it is on the other hand eating up her neck, which is already a bit shorter. She has really got to move away from these types of styles. The halter and off the shoulder and spaghetti strap styles all the time. They're simply not the most flattering option for her. There are other styles that would be more balancing and more flattering to her figure. Clearly, she has categorized her shoulders as an asset, and no denying she has thinner arms and shoulders, but it seems almost every single evening look she's done the last few years has had either an off-the-shoulder, sleeveless, halter, or spaghetti strap construction. So simply for the sake of variety, it is time that she wears something else. But beyond that, styles like V-necks, things with some degree of sleeve, keyhole designs, asymmetrical necklines, or wide strapped sleeveless designs are all great options that would elongate her neckline more and balance her wider shoulder line. They would leave an overall more balanced silhouette for her, which would be beneficial. This dress did end up shortening her neck and accentuating her shoulders, which ultimately meant enhancing their broadness as well, but it's not the worst thing she's worn. It is an improvement in some ways. It's a big improvement in terms of the midsection area and a big improvement in terms of the length of the dress. I think she would have benefited from a bit of a smoothing layer or a slip under here. It's not a perfect finish, but the white color is not highlighting that lack of smoothness quite as much, which is good. It is relatively camouflaged that she didn't pull out all the stops to get a smooth layer. Her posture let her down in this particular picture, but that happens to everybody sometimes. Her hair, makeup, and jewelry, I think, look fine. The shoe choice is fine for this. For this particular event, I think they're all suitable options and go with the dress just fine. As far as her hair goes, she doesn't necessarily suit a high, perky bun all that well. She could have gone for a more elaborate updo, along the back side of the head with some, pretty chignons, some curls or something like that. But she's never really been one to go for that all that often. One thing she couldn't do with this particular dress is have her hair down. There was so much fabric across her neckline. Her neckline was already getting swamped and shortened. Having her hair down would have made it worse. So that's why I would say this hairstyle is at least acceptable. This particular picture has gotten a little bit of backlash because it's like a compulsion for her to touch Harry in every single picture ever. Anyway, there will always be some people of the public who do not know the ins and outs of the Sussex saga. All the lies that they've told and all the people that they pushed under the bus in the name of money. But ultimately, this showing looked pretty lame, all things considered. Whether you think you deserve them or not, or whether you actually deserve them or not, plucking up awards and having close to 100,000 people sign a petition, go out of their way to sign a petition, which took like extra steps. You had to sign the petition and then confirm it in the email and all kinds of things. Having almost 100,000 people go out of their way to sign this and say you don't deserve this award, you shouldn't be getting it, it's pretty bad. It's pitiful. It's quite pathetic. This has not gotten people to sympathize with him because he cannot escape the fact that he was treated differently during his time in service. He is already an incredibly wealthy, privileged man who is also a prince. And at the end of the day, people don't really care to see people like that getting awards. The Espys are usually a little bit different in terms of award ceremonies because we recognize that even athletes who had privileged upbringings or came from a wealthy background work incredibly hard. You cannot fake how many goals or how fast you go. These athletes are incredibly talented. They do work very hard to get where they are. That's in stark contrast to Harry. But think beyond that. All the Hollywood awards shows have suffered from lower and lower viewership year after year after year. People just don't care that much, or they're willing to just Google it the next day. A large portion of the population think that awards shows are just wealthy folks patting themselves on the back, and they're not entirely wrong. Despite acknowledging that there is skill and talent recognized, things like exceptional cinematography, acting, and costume design do take hard work to achieve and deserve their own recognition. But still, most people are not that invested in the award ceremonies themselves any longer. They're increasingly over these awards shows. And that's especially true if it goes to the likes of Harry. These type of Nepo babies who didn't actually work hard, who did actually get everything handed to them, including Invictus. It was, quite frankly, handed to Harry. The idea was not his own. His personal secretary was the main point man on the project. The Royal Foundation funded it. Catherine, William, and Charles all donated loads of money to it and worked really hard, provided their staff that they paid for to make it happen. Harry did not single-handedly make Invictus happen. And he is like the most Nepo baby, man baby we've ever seen. So for him to be receiving awards is just not something the public are happy to accept. And that will surely have an impact going forward. But leave your thoughts in the comments. Thank you so much for joining me for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it and I hope you have a happy day ahead. I'll see you next time. Bye.